everyone, my name is Danielle. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to make cut and tie blankets. First we're going to start off by choosing our fabric, then we're going to discuss how to decide what size it needs to be, and then finally I'm going to show you and demonstrate how to make the blanket. So behind me is a couple projects that I've made. This one here is a cut and tie video game themed one. This one here is actually my favorite colors. It's red and black, and it's actually my couch blanket. This one here is a same on both sides. It's my son's cut and tie pillow that I made him because he likes Mickey Mouse. And then another thing, when you're making cut and ties, you have to cut off what's called the salvage edge, and I make that into two toys for our dog. This one here is for our beagle, and this little one right here, this one's for my Chihuahua. He needs smaller toys because the big ones are just too heavy for him. Okay, so we're going to start out with making our cut and tie selection for our fabric. I have a couple with me here today. This one here is actually some leftover from when I made my couch pillows. This one here is actually a leftover from when I made my son a couple scarves and a pair of pajama pants. So for this project, we're actually going to work with this one because it matches our couch, and this is actually going to be a small dog cut and tie blanket just to go in their dog bed. So when you decide on your fabric, next thing you need to decide is how big it needs to be. For the dogs, this 1.5 yard by 18 inch is going to be more than we need, and I'll actually leave us some extra to make some small dog toys. However, if you're going to make a blanket at home, you're going to need about 2 yards each fabric, so one side 2 yards, one side 2 yards, so a total of 4 yards for like a lap blanket, 2.5 to 2 3/4 per fabric for like a bed blanket. So once you've picked out your fabric and you've decided how big it is, you get home, well now you need to make it. You may figure, where do I start? What am I supposed to do? Well, that's easy. First thing, see this edge here? It will usually have some type of writing on it, or it'll have little circles that'll show you the type of, the colors, the color codes that they are, so you can match it up. You don't need that on there. In fact, if you leave it on there, it's not going to look good. So let's start by cutting that off. I'm going to try to make it where you can kind of see. So we're going to take this, we're going to cut it right off. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay. So this makes a good little scrap. I can put this into one of the little chew toys for the Chihuahua. You can probably just throw it away if you have no use for it. Okay, now I need to decide how big do I want this blanket to be. Well, for the dogs, I would say about 1.5 feet is probably a good size for them. So I'm going to take the fabric, and since I'm doing the same fabric on each side, I can do this, I can fold it over, and then just cut off what's extra, and then cut right down where the seam is. Now, if you're doing a cut and tie at home, you're not going to be able to do this if you're doing different fabrics. So you're already going to have them pre-cut at the fabric store into 2 equal sizes. So what you'll do is when you get home, you need to find a nice flat surface. I suggest using either your kitchen table if it's big enough, possibly your bed, or even a spot on the floor, as long as you have a flat surface that you can work with. Okay, now I'm not going to separate them, but you'll see I have a total of 2 of the same length fabrics. Now, once you've laid your fabrics out, now I'm going to try to show you this. You lay your fabrics out nice and flat. Okay, now you're going to take and you're going to cut squares in each corner. If you were doing a blanket, a full-size blanket, you'd do a 4-inch square. Well, this is smaller, so we're going to do about a 2.5-inch square. What that does is it gives you an area where you can cut and you can tie. So let's go ahead and put about a 2.5-inch area in each one here. We're going to do that on all 4 sides. Now, when you purchase your fabric, you may think that 2.5, 2 3/4 yards seems like a lot for a blanket, but once you cut it, you lose about 1/4 yard, so it's about 9 inches that you're going to lose. So now instead of being 2.5, it's only 2 1/4. Okay, so now we've got 4 different squares, one in each one of the corners here. So now you're going to take and you're going to cut them, and I'm just going to do a few here. You're going to tie them. You're going to tie them once. You're going to tie them twice. Now, what I suggest doing is do at least one on each part near the corners. I say that because if your fabric moves on you, or someone walks through, or a dog happens to come through and you don't have this tied, it's going to fall on the floor, and it's going to be hard to line it back up. Okay, so we've almost got all 4 corners tied. Let's finish this one up. Now, see how I'm double knotting them? They don't have to be any certain distance apart. You don't have to take a measure and go every single bit. It can be as often as you want. However, the deeper in that you cut on your fabric, like this, the smaller and thinner your ties are going to be. If you only cut it like 1.5 inches, 2 inches in, they're going to be a fatter, thicker knot. And I kind of like those better than the stringy looking ones. Okay, so now, I'm going to put the camera back up here. Now that we've talked about how to do your project, what you would continue to do is you would take and you would do that all the way around all 4 parts. Once you've completed it, you're going to have a one-of-a-kind project that whoever you made it for is going to enjoy it because it's personalized for them. Now, cut and ties are nice because anyone can make them. I've probably made a good dozen of the blankets, as well as at least 3 or 4 of the pillows, and a bunch of other things. I actually work with them all the time. I have to tell people how much, fabric they need and how long it's going to take. Usually people can get them done in under 2 hours. Very fast, very quick craft, something that kids can even do, especially if you pre-cut it for them, so they just have to tie it. In conclusion, I hope that everybody enjoyed my demo and that it was informative. And thank you for watching. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Thank you.